Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining today's session. My name is Anthony Hankerson. I go by Hank, and I am an employer engagement manager in our career professional development office here at WGU. Today, we are joined by Levi Cook, a WGU alum and a current MBA student. Levi is a member of the WGU Cybersecurity Club, and he is also a member of B-Side Orlando. I was connected with Levi through our alumni team on LinkedIn, who shared Levi's passion for cybersecurity and willingness to share his expertise with others looking to break into industry. Whether he's sharing guidance and career advice on an online forum or being a leader in the field, Levi is a great and passionate about his industry and the work that he does. Levi, we're excited to have you today and share your expertise. The floor is yours.
Sorry, I just want to make sure that's. Can you see the slideshow though? Good? Okay, cool. Yeah. I'm Levi. I go by Doulos online. I've been working in cybersecurity for a number of years. Recently, I had to go through the job hunt myself. Last year, I was looking for work, and through that journey, I came across a lot of misconceptions that I had myself, that others have had. And I just wanted to give this talk to try and help people understand a little bit more about what cybersecurity is, as well as cover some of the misconceptions that I've seen frequently, I'll say. I'm a moderator on a cybersecurity Discord server with about 200,000 members. The reason I bring that up is we have literally thousands of people coming through the server looking to get into cybersecurity, who are interested in cybersecurity. And we see the same questions over and over and over again. And through that time, I have reached out to a number of other professionals, hiring managers, people who've been in the field for 20, 30 years, and tried to get feedback from them. And I sought feedback from people who are looking for work, who have been looking for work for over a year. And that's what this talk comes out of, is just this combined knowledge and wisdom that we've gained from so many others. Most of what I'm sharing here comes from somebody else. So I'm just the one who's sharing it. Oops, sorry. I am not great with PowerPoint, so I do apologize. So what is this talk? It's going to start with, what is cybersecurity? What are some common misconceptions? And then how can you stand out? And then we'll finish with a Q&A. So what is cybersecurity? According to the CISA, cybersecurity is the art of protecting networks, devices, and data from unauthorized access or criminal use, and the practice of ensuring confidentiality, integrity, and availability of information. But reality, cybersecurity is far more than just the technology or tools, or even stopping hackers. It's the practice of protecting people. Yeah, we're working with systems, we're working with policies and procedures. We're protecting our systems, we're protecting our data, but the reality is that data is usually associated with a person. So when we work in cybersecurity, it's not just the data, it's not just the numbers, it's the people that data is connected to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through a number of different areas in cybersecurity. One of the biggest misconceptions I've seen is cybersecurity is you're a SOC analyst, you're a red teamer, or you're configuring firewalls. The reality is cybersecurity is a vast, vast field. And what I'm sharing is going to be a very quick overview. Not everyone's going to agree with what I'm saying. That's okay. We don't have to all agree. I am generalizing a number of times, just for the sake of brevity and being able to get through this. So if I say something that you disagree with, I'm sorry. Feel free to contact me later and we'll talk about it. If I'm saying something wrong, by all means, correct me. I'm not going to say I'm perfect, but this is an overview. I do want to say, as far as the wording and the presentation goes, I did have ChatGPT help me with my PowerPoint. I'm going to give ChatGPT credit because, again, I'm terrible at PowerPoint. So what is cybersecurity? Overall, we have what we call the blue team. They're more your defensive and operations people. These are the ones who are taking care of and securing your network, your devices, your data. They're the defensive ones. They're the ones that are reacting and proactively trying to stop hackers or attackers. You have your red team, which are your offensive people, your pen testers. These are what you many times call the hackers. Um, if you've seen Mr. Robot, as many have, what he does would be more considered red team. These are the people who are simulating attacks. They're trying to break vulnerabilities, find vulnerabilities, and attack those for the sake of stopping them before an attacker from the wild comes in and does that. You have your governance, risk, and compliance, GRC. These folks are working with your policies. They're making sure that you're following the governance and the compliance side of the business. They're assessing risk. They're deciding, does this software match our risk requirements? Is it acceptable for our environment? Then you have your identity access and architecture. These are the folks that are doing a lot of the account work. They're working with the stuff that lets you log into your devices. They're determining what you have access to, what you don't have access to. They're really making sure that you're doing what you should be doing and not someone else. Then you have your research or your more advanced positions. These are the people who tend to be putting out papers. They're doing research, they're giving talks at the major conferences, or they're really specialized focused people. They're working with specific fields, and that's just their one thing. You have your awareness and training, which is kind of what I'm doing today. You're building a culture of education and communication. You're sharing how to have proper security posture. You're teaching different ways, different techniques. You see a lot of this in teaching how to do cybersecurity, but this is more how an end user can be secure. And then you have your leadership and your strategy, which that's your CISOs. That's the people who are making all the decisions. So within the blue team, here's just a small breakdown. This is not encompassing. There are many, many positions that I missed here. And I do want to preface this with different companies use the same terms for different things. A SOC analyst in one company can be completely different than a SOC analyst in the company right next door. So the SOC is your security operations center. These are the people who tend to be looking at alerts, monitoring the logs, and trying to react if something happens in the network or in your environment. So your SOC analyst is going to be going through your SIEM. You're going to be monitoring your network. When an alert comes in, say there was a phishing email that got sent through the server, the SOC analyst is probably going to be the person who is looking at that, seeing, is it valid? Where did it come from? Did it affect anyone? And then they'll either remediate it themselves or they'll pass it on to someone else. You have your incident responders. Many times your SOC analysts are incident responders. They're the ones who are responding to that. So that phishing email came through, the incident responder is the one who is making sure that user, if they did click on it, they're taking care of the aftermath of that. If they didn't click on it, they're making sure everything's clean on the system, or they're dealing with that ransomware. They're the ones who are responding. You have your threat hunters. I'm sorry, I'm going a little bit quick just due to time. Threat hunters are proactively looking in the environment. They're finding indicators of compromise, IOCs from the intelligence groups out there, and they're saying, do we have any of these on our network? Do we see this registry key anywhere in our network? Oh, okay, we see this. They're trying to find stuff before it becomes an incident. You have your digital forensics. These are the folks that are coming in after the fact. Say ransomware did happen on your network. The digital forensics person is going to come in, try and find where this came in, what evidence is left behind. They're recording, they're copying, they're taking that evidence. They're going to be providing the data that if this ends up going to court, their data, what they provide, is going to be what's getting sent to the court. Within the government side, a lot of times if you're working in digital forensics within the police force or something like that, unfortunately, a lot of what they're doing is looking at unsavory things and providing the evidence so that they can be taken to court and that can be used as evidence against the person. So just be aware if you are looking to get into digital forensics and the legal side of things, there's a lot of that a lot of people may not like. And then you have your malware analysts and reverse engineers. This is a level of, you're taking a malware sample, say ransomware came in, you isolated it, they take that ransomware sample and then they reverse engineer it. They look at the behind the code and try and see who made this, how did they make this? How did this get past our protections? So, and then you have your offensive and red team side. You have your penetration testers. I do want to say a lot of people want to get into penetration testing. It is not an entry level position. None of cybersecurity is entry level, but pen testing is within cybersecurity. It's not entry level. So if you want to be a penetration tester, it is possible to go straight from college into that, but more likely than not, you're going to have a background so that you can get into that. Your pen testers are the ones who are simulating attacks. If you have a website, the penetration tester is going to go in and try and break that website. They're going to try and get past whatever protections are in place and determine what is vulnerable on your site. A penetration tester's main job is writing reports and presenting data. It's not hacking, so that's a big part of pen testing, just so you're aware. Red team operators, this is a hard one because it seems like every company out there has a different understanding or definition of our expectation for a red team operator. Sometimes they'll be doing adversary simulation or emulation. Sometimes they're running pen tests regularly on the network. There's a lot that a red teamer does. It's a more senior level position. They tend to require far more technical expertise. So that's not something that you start out, but that is something you can go to. You have your exploit developers. These are the people who look at the vulnerabilities and then they create code or tools to exploit that vulnerability. When you see a proof of concept out on GitHub for a vulnerability, an exploit developer is the one who wrote that. And then you have your vulnerability researchers. These are the ones who are looking for those vulnerabilities, finding the flaws. They're fuzzing, they're running code to see what they can find within a specific application or network so that they can prevent it, but so someone else can break through that. You have your GRC. This is an area that a lot of cybersecurity folks don't, some people don't consider them cybersecurity. I disagree. I fully believe that it's cybersecurity. A lot of people say that it's boring because they're very technical. I know people who are in GRC, they absolutely love it. That's what they live for. So if you love policies, if you love governance, if you love assessing risk, this may be for you. One thing about GRC, most of these positions are far less technical. So maybe you're interested in cybersecurity, but you're not a highly technical person. Take a look at GRC. You have your compliance analysts. They're the ones who are making sure you comply with different frameworks. If you're in healthcare, you have HIPAA. If you're doing payment processing, you have PS or PCI. If you're working with European customers, you have the GDPR compliant, these different things you have to comply with. This is where your GRC group comes in. You have your risk analysts. They're evaluating business risks. They're communicating it. They're following the NIST frameworks. You have your policy and government or governance specialists. They're the ones who are creating the policies and then they're enforcing the policies. This is something that's very important for a company to continue running and continue running well, is making sure the policies that are in place are actually enforced. And then you have your auditors. Depending on the type of audit, they may be highly technical or they may be looking at, are you following this NIST framework or do you have all these checkboxes? GRC is a great way to get into cybersecurity, so I'd highly recommend anyone who is interested to take a look because we need more GRC folks. You have your identity access and architecture. You have your IAM specialists. These are the ones who are managing your access. They're making sure your users and all the groups that you need to be in, they only have the rules that you're supposed to have. They're dealing with SSO or MFA. Their whole thing is managing access to your environment. You have your cloud security engineers. These are the folks who are configuring your cloud environment, making sure it's secure. They're not configuring it from the networking side or the server side. They're configuring the security of your cloud environment. You have your network security engineers. They are configuring your firewalls. They're configuring your DLP at times, the different things that interact with the network on the network level. They're your security folks for that. Traditionally, when I was first getting into cybersecurity, that's all I knew was out there was network security. You got your CCNA, you got your CCNA security, and then you started configuring your firewalls. Now, cybersecurity is a much broader field, and there's a lot more awareness of what's out there. And then you have your security architects. These are senior roles. These people understand the big picture, and they're taking security from a big picture. And your DevSecOps engineers, these folks are working with your developers, making sure that development is happening in a secure way. And then your research. You have your cryptographers and crypt analysts. These folks are working on the algorithms that secure everything that we do. We all know how quantum computing is coming and is going to change the world. If quantum computing ever happens, it will destroy every cryptography, every encryption we have right now. These are the folks that are trying to find a way to have quantum secure cryptography. You have your researchers. They're looking for new attack vectors. They're looking and seeing what is happening in the wild and trying to replicate that, determine how it happened. They're putting out the CVEs. They're looking for things that are happening. They're not always going to be the ones who are responding to incidents or even performing exploitations. They're just doing the research. You have your AI or machine learning specialists. This is a whole new field. I don't have a lot of experience with this, but everyone's gone into ChatGPT and typed something. These are the folks that are making sure that the AI is actually doing what it's supposed to do. It's not giving out data it's not supposed to give access to, and they're protecting those systems. And then you have your OT, ICS. These are more industrial controls. This is a very specialized field. It is definitely a field that we need to be thinking of, because if our production goes down, it would affect the whole nation. So these are very specialized types of roles. And then you have your awareness and training. You have your trainers who are doing your basic cybersecurity training. You join a company, they're the ones who say, don't click on the suspicious links, have a proper password. They're doing phishing simulations, maybe. They're maybe creating trainings. I'm not saying this in a negative way. A lot of this is vital. We tend to overcomplicate things, and a really good trainer is able to simplify it so that everyone can understand. You have your cybersecurity advocates. This is about, as this says, it's storytelling, promoting secure culture. These are the folks who are making the culture of your business think about security. If you work in healthcare, you want the people who are dealing with your clients, dealing with your patients, to be not talking about their passwords in front of a patient. So the cybersecurity advocate will come around and make sure all the nurses understand and have a cybersecurity posture. They're thinking through what they're doing, who they're around. I keep bringing up healthcare. I work in healthcare, so. And then you have change management specialists. These are the folks who, when a new system comes in place, they're trying to make an easy transition from the old to the new, or when a new thing comes, they're trying to ease that transition so that people can accept the new process. They can use the new software in a easier way. And then you have your leadership. I'm not going to go too much into this. These are the managers. They're the ones that are taking this, or making the strategy, making decisions, having the big picture of everything. So some common misconceptions. These come from a number of people that I've asked for guidance from. So when these come up, a lot of them I've seen hundreds of times maybe, or someone that I know has brought this up. So the first one, there are millions of open positions. Yes, there are technically millions of open positions worldwide for cybersecurity. What isn't there are millions of entry-level positions. I think one statistic I saw was 20% of those positions are entry or junior level, and the rest are mid and senior level positions. So yes, while there are technically millions of positions out there that are unfilled, that doesn't mean somebody who is getting their degree in cybersecurity is going into a market that has millions of open positions. Actually, one of the websites I was looking at, I don't remember if it was ISC Squared or CyberSeek, said that there's an oversaturation of 22% for entry-level positions, and there is a 70% need for senior-level positions. So when you hear these numbers of millions of open positions, just realize that they're not all entry or junior level early career positions. The next one, the field is saturated. Yes, it is saturated. There are thousands and thousands of people looking for cybersecurity positions, trying to get into cybersecurity. That said, it's a need. It's going to continue to grow. There will continue to be new positions opening up. There's always going to be a need for cybersecurity. AI is not taking our jobs. AI will help us, and there may be some jobs that AI replaces, but that just opens up new positions. So the field is saturated, but it's also got hundreds of thousands of positions in America alone. Just get some experience. Whoops. Oh, a misconception. There are instant six-figure salaries. Most cybersecurity professionals don't make $100,000 a year. Just the reality is most people working in cybersecurity make less than 100,000 a year. There are many cybersecurity workers who are making well over 100,000. The ceiling is very high, but that tends to be people who have experience. I think the median entry level position is $50,000 to $70,000 a year, depending on where you're at in the country. So just have realistic expectations for starting or transitioning into cybersecurity. Yes, the ceiling is very high. Yes, you can definitely get over 100,000 a year, but don't expect it right out of the bat. Don't expect your first job to be paying 100K plus, unless maybe you're in Seattle. I don't know. Things are different out there. Misconception: it's an easy entry level field. Cybersecurity, from everyone that I know, myself included, is not an entry level field. There are entry level positions within cybersecurity, but most people are wanting you to have some experience. I talked to a number of hiring managers, some who are currently hiring, and I asked, what is the biggest misconception you see, or the biggest thing that you see people who are applying for positions do wrong? And they say they have no experience. I've had so many hiring managers say, we're looking for someone who at least has an IT background. You need to be able to understand what you're protecting to be able to protect it. That said, I do want to say I know a number of people who their first job out of college or even before college was in cybersecurity. They're thriving in their careers, some of whom were hired recently. So you don't have to have experience, but I like to say if you don't have that experience, you're often competing with someone who does have that. So if you don't have the experience, find another way to stand out. Certifications are guarantee a job. This is a highly controversial topic. I personally started my career with certifications. I just got my degree last year through WGU. So I have lived the life of I can do it without a degree. I got it through certifications. That said, a lot of times companies are using ATS. They're using the AI to process the applications, the resumes. They're looking for people who have a degree. So if you don't have a degree, they're just going to skip your resume entirely. Some people say certifications are the way to go. Some people hate certifications. I personally am pro certification, but just don't expect to get a job because you got a cert. You have to have something to add on to that. I got my CCNA in 2009, I believe, and I thought I was going to get a networking job right away because I got my CCNA. It didn't happen. So even 15, 16 years ago, a certification alone doesn't guarantee a job. You must be a hacker. No, you don't need to be a hacker. That's probably the most common misconception I see, honestly. Well, number two is that you have to be a good hacker. You have to be some elite. You have to have all the skills. You don't. The reality is most or many cybersecurity positions don't require any form of hacking at all. Like I said, you even have GRC, which is it's much less technical than your engineering or your analyst positions. So you don't have to be a hacker. Don't let that stop you from pursuing your dreams and being in cybersecurity. You need to be able to program. No, you do not. This is the number one misconception I see. I have had thousands and thousands of people, and I'm not exaggerating those numbers, ask, what programming language do I just start with to get into cybersecurity? You don't need to program. There are definitely positions that may be a requirement. There are positions where understanding how to at least automate things, scripting, Bash, PowerShell, Python, those are very helpful. But for the most part within cybersecurity, programming is not a requirement. Again, there are positions that require it, but as a whole, you don't need to be a programmer. It's glamorous. Yes, Hollywood has sensationalized and romanticized cybersecurity. It's not. You're going to be looking at logs for 4, 5, 6, 7, 13, 14 hours straight. Sometimes you're going to be in there just doing configurations. It's a job like any other job. Yeah, you may have really exciting things, really exciting times. You may stop a ransomware before it starts and save the whole company. That's great. But for the most part, it's going in, doing your time, getting the work done. It's not some Hollywood all glamorous thing. It's not nonstop action. You may have downtime depending on your position. If you're an incident response person, you might be glad to have downtime because that means There aren't incidents that you're having to respond to. Um, you don't want to be constantly dealing with remediating issues or dealing with ransomware. You want things to be a little more slow. That said, you might be putting a 16, 18-hour day, or you might be doing that for 3, 4 weeks, depending on what goes on. So it's not all nonstop action. It's like most jobs, there's a ebb and a flow. It's only for young tech geniuses. No, it's not. Um, I know a number of people who are in their 30s, 40s, and 50s transitioning into cybersecurity who transitioned later in life. It's not all for people who are growing up doing this all through teenage, high school, etc. Yeah, those people are great. They're out there, but you're not competing with the top 0.1% of the world when you're trying to get most jobs. I'm not as good as XYZ, so I'll never make it, aka imposter syndrome. This is one of the biggest issues within cybersecurity. It's one of the biggest things that most cybersecurity professionals deal with. Do not compare yourself to someone else. Please, please, please don't compare yourself to someone else. Just because you don't match 100% of the requirements on that job application doesn't mean you shouldn't apply for it. When HR puts out those requirements, they're looking for a unicorn. If you match 50% of it, go for it. See if you can take that job. Don't think that you can't do something just because someone else does it better. There are many much better speakers than me. There are people who are far more experienced, far greater at everything that I do than I am. And that's fine. I'm here. Thank you for giving me this opportunity, WGU. I'm here to just share what I've got, but that doesn't mean there's not someone better. There are plenty. That's great. I'm grateful that they're there, and I try and help out when I can. Don't think that you can't be in cybersecurity because you're not this or that. Just don't do that to yourself. Don't do that to others. You're really keeping others from receiving what you have when you have that mentality. If you want to start giving talks, maybe start speaking at conferences, start somewhere local. There are many social groups all around for cybersecurity. My first talk was on OSINT, open source intelligence. I really didn't know it too much when I gave that talk, but what I gave was more than what the people who were receiving knew. So they learned something from what I had. I'm not an OSINT expert. I'm not an OSINT master, but I was able to share with what little I had to others. And a lot of times when you're giving a talk, if you're overly technical or if you're looking too high level, it's going to go right over people's heads. So being more simplistic, being more simple really is a benefit when you're giving talks or working in cybersecurity. Once I get the job, I'm done learning. No, once you get the job, you start learning. A lot of people don't realize that cybersecurity is an ever changing field. Technology changes day by day. You have to keep up and keep current with technology. Thankfully, a lot of companies realize that and they have budgets for continual training. They have budgets there. It's budgeted to where you can go to a conference once a year, you can do these trainings. But once you get your job, that's when the real training starts. A lot of companies, it takes 6 months for the person to get hired before they start being fully productive. That's 6 months of just learning your new position, learning your new field. Even if you've done it somewhere else, every environment is different. Every company is different. So just be prepared to learn, and enjoy the learning. How to stand out. So ISC Square, ISC2 does an annual hiring survey. And for 2025, the top 5 skills that hiring managers are looking for are teamwork, problem solving, and analytical thinking. Those 3 aren't technical. Those are all soft skills. Data security, cloud security, those are technical expectations, but the top 3 that hiring managers are looking for are being able to work as a team, problem solving, and thinking analytically. A lot of people who get into cybersecurity are introverts like myself, geeks, nerds, people who may be socially awkward or think, oh, I can do it by myself. If you're independent in this field, you're not going to be successful. I mean, you may be able to, there's always an exception, but as a whole, you have to be able to communicate. You have to be able to communicate with others, work well with your team. Hello? Okay, I'm so sorry. My headset died. It said full battery, but it wasn't. Yeah, a lot of hiring managers are looking to see, do you fit the culture in your team? So being able to work, all these soft skills are very, very important. Um, and then I know we're getting close to the time here. Say you don't have 10 years of IT experience. How can you stand out? There are a number of ways. Having a lab, you don't have to have a bunch of expensive equipment. You can download VMware Workstation Pro. It's free for everyone. You can download GNS3. That's a network simulation software, free for everyone. You can do labs like Hack the Box or Try Hack Me or Blue Team Labs Online. These are cloud ranges where you can go and you can learn these skills. I know people who have done well in Hack the Box and they got a job because they were doing well in Hack the Box. That's how they got their job. I know people who have set up VMware labs, entire environments just through VMware. And when they went in their interview, they talked about that and they got the job because they showed that passion. There are IoT devices everywhere. It seems like there's a new one coming out every day. Go try and hack your IoT device. Put in a CVE for your IoT device. Then when you go into an interview, you can say, yeah, I've got a CVE, blah, 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 for this remote camera that watches cats. Do something. If you don't have that experience, you're competing against people who do have experience. It doesn't have to be something expensive. It doesn't cost a lot of money. Hack the Box has a student subscription for $8 a month if you have a EDU email. So if you're a WGU student, you can get it for $8 a month. Go through these platforms, learn their training, and find ways to stand out. And then the absolute best way to stand out, hands down, bar none, is to get involved in the community. If there are local security conferences, start volunteering. Maybe there's a local social group, a DC group, something like that. Get connected. Start to meet with people who are in the field that you want to be in. Join ISC2 or ISSAC, one of the or professional programs in your area. Just get connected with people. I have my current job because I volunteered at B-Sides Orlando last year in the Career Village. My manager met me there, and that's how I end up getting the job I have right now. Get connected, get on Discord, get connected in communities, find a way to talk to people. The old adage, it's not what you know, it's who you know, really is true because so many people are looking for every job. If there are 1,000 applicants for a position, but the hiring manager knows 3 of those 3 people are more likely to get an interview than the other 9,009 or 997 people. Get connected with people, network, network, network. That is the absolute best way to stand out. And now it's the Q&A time. I do want to say thank you. Here's a very short list of people who helped me with this. I just want to say thank you to everyone who did give me input, people who were going through the career field, trying to get a job, or who have all that experience. Thanks, and thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Levi, for joining us today and sharing your expertise and giving us the opportunity to learn from you. This is our Q&A session, so if you would like, you can drop your questions in the chat, or if you would like to come off mute and ask your questions directly, go ahead and use the raise your hand function. I'll do so and allow you to come off of mute. So just a reminder, this session is recorded and this will go out to you via email here in the next 24 hours. And like Levi said, it's a great opportunity to network. So if you would like to drop your LinkedIn in the chat to stay connected, I'll also be sharing the links that Levi spoke about during his presentation, but also his LinkedIn profile with you as well via email later on. All right, so we do have one question already in the chat from Tara. Levi, can you tell us where you work? Oh.
Sorry, I'm muted. Sorry about that. Yeah, I work for Orlando Health. It's a hospital group that reaches from Alabama all the way to Puerto Rico and everywhere in between. It's great. Healthcare is wonderful. So.
And you mentioned that you got that that connection through B-Side Orlando. What do you do? What do you do with B-Side Orlando? If I may ask.
So last year I helped out with our career village, which is where I met my manager. This year I was responsible for registration. So anyone who registered for B-Sides Orlando, every attendee, I was responsible for everything from setting up the Eventbrite to day of registration.
Okay, great. And I know you mentioned that you start off somewhere if that's an opportunity. So just kind of reaching out to different conferences or different organizations kind of worked out for you.
Yeah, so I this year was my first time going to DEF CON. I spent the whole time volunteering in the Red Team Village. I barely attended. I was a volunteer. You don't have to go to a major conference. There are B-Sides conferences all over the country, all over the world. There are a number of other conferences. Get involved, volunteer. You don't have to have skills. You can go there and be a greeter, or you can just be helping with swag. There are a number of ways that people can get involved and get connected, but it really is the best way to get a job. I say that wholeheartedly.
So we got some honest, some information in the chat. So honesty is straightforward and transparent. I'm speechless to have no questions. All right, great. And I thank you for that, just being transparent, even though sometimes we hear some information um, that is put out and we think that it is the only thing, but obviously everyone has their different opinions, and this opportunity to share those different opinions and give advices what these sessions are all about. So thank you for that. Richard,
Thank
thank
you.
you for your time. This was great information. Also, Becker, his aunt works at Orlando Health, so which is awesome. We have Lance in the chat. So have you seen success in cybersecurity from those in lower populated cities or states? Great question, Lance.
Yeah, I'll tell you right now, if there is a company in your area, there's a need for cybersecurity. You don't have to work at some large conglomerate. I mean, nonprofits, churches, little small organizations, they need cybersecurity as well. They may not be able to pay for it, but if you need experience, find the local nonprofits, these small nonprofits in your area, go offer your services for free. But yeah, there are MSSPs, managed service or security service providers. There is remote work. There are many opportunities, even for remote areas.
All right, so great response. Thanks for the help. So as far as, and please drop your questions in chat or if you use your raise your hand function. But Levi, so in response to um, volunteering and outreach, is that something that you could start while before you got your degree, or is that something that most people look at you to have a degree before kind of jumping in there?
For volunteering, I mean, it depends on who you're volunteering with. Some people do have requirements, but most conferences, they're just looking for people who can help out with something. I've worked with people who are not connected to cybersecurity in any way, shape, or form. They're just there to volunteer because they love the community and they're passionate about it. So you don't need experience. I mean, if you're wanting to do networking for the conference, yeah, you may need networking experience, but there are always positions, there are always things that people can do. Um, I would say half of my volunteers this year were trying to get into cybersecurity. Um, the other half are currently working in cybersecurity, but half of them are just trying to get into cybersecurity. So you don't need experience or degrees or anything to do that.
Well, thanks for that. Another question in the chat from Yatundi, and I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. What is the best way to discover cybersecurity volunteer opportunities in my area?
That's a great question. That may be a little more difficult to find. What I would do is there's the Hacker Tracker app, which is you can download on your phone. That usually most conferences connect with that. I would look and see, it's called DEF CON groups or DC groups. See if there's a DC group in your area. Look at some of the professional organizations, your ISC squared, your ISACA. See if they have a local chapter, or look and see if there's Discord servers that are in your area. I'm in the 5 or 6 different social groups and 4 or 5 different professional groups that all meet in our area. So that's a lot of opportunities.
Great, thank you. Question from Josh. How do you access culture fit when looking at different companies? Good question.
Uh, That is a good question. I don't know if I have a good answer for that. I would say check out things like Glassdoor, look at LinkedIn, see how the people who work there communicate. If you can, find somebody who works there and just start talking to them. It doesn't have to be professional. Just start that conversation. That is a very interesting question. I'll have to think more on that. Thank you.
Okay, great. And yeah, and, just to kind of second that, I would agree. Just kind of looking at those different areas, especially LinkedIn, joining any groups that that organization may have, kind of looking at their posts and following anyone who is connected with that organization, just to see what a day in the life may look like working there and what goes on with the company. All right. I got another question from Thean, and I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong, but want to say thank you for the presentation, sir. I had a lot of those misconceptions internalized, so it really cleared up things for me. I'd like to ask, how do you deal with the pressure slash stress of knowing that you are responsible for occasionally taking care of sensitive data?
I think that's something that you have to work through personally. How realize that you're not Superman. You can't do everything. You're not bulletproof. Um, Set proper expectations. By all means, give it your all, but realize that there's only so much you can do. Hopefully, you're working with a good team. You have others around you that you can rely on so that it's not, again, being independent is not a way to succeed in this field. Even if you don't have another team around you, maybe you are the only person at the company who does that. Find a community that you can interact with because we're never going to know everything. We need other people, we need other companies, people who work for other companies that let us know of or IOCs like, hey, we're seeing this in our network. Be on the lookout. So really, it's giving yourself some grace to realize you can only do so much, but also building that knowledge and understanding to where if you don't have the solution, you can go to someone who can, and that takes some of the pressure off your own shoulders.
That's a great advice. And I think that kind of relates back to what you were talking about, the imposter syndrome and being able to conquer those fears. So that's great. A couple of thank yous that are in the chat. Byron has a question. What does the mid-level employment opportunities look like? Are there opportunities to pivot, say from GRC to a technical role or from a technical role to leadership?
Yeah, so that's where it really comes down to your company or the company you're looking at. Yes, there are definitely ways to transition. I know people who have moved in and out of different departments and different positions through all levels of their careers. Sometimes you may have to take a little bit of a pay cut if you're wanting to make a transition to a new area. Just be aware that sometimes you have to take that pay cut because you may be a senior in your job, but you're coming in as a junior or a mid-level in another position. So the reality is you have to weigh that for your own personal needs. But I know of I know of a number of people who transitioned into GRC from other things because they wanted to be more in the risk area, vice versa. Getting into leadership, that's, I mean, I'm doing my MBA right now. There are ways to get your degrees, get a master's degree. That helps a lot with transitioning into a leadership position. Um, Within your company, let them know that you want to pursue a managerial position. Start to ask, hey, what can I do to prepare myself to transition into this? There are ways that you can do it, even if you have to be safe about it because of local politics in your company. You can maybe reach out to someone who's a manager at another company and ask them how you can prepare for that position. Talk to a CISO and ask, hey, what does your day to day look like? What can I do to prepare myself to become a CISO?
Great, solid advice there. Another question from Michael. How did your degree from WGU most prepare you for your current role?
Well, my current company does require a degree. So, for one, it is an actual requirement to work in my position to have a degree. So, that's a big one. I think a lot of it, I transitioned out of cybersecurity a number of years back to work in the nonprofit realm for a while, and I've transitioned back into cybersecurity. So for me, it refreshed my knowledge. As I said, technology is always changing. So it gave me a refreshed view of what the technology looks like currently. Some of the certifications, just pursuing those, gave me a lot of foundational knowledge, and it kept my mind in this learner's mindset of, okay, constantly learning, constantly putting in new knowledge. So the degree just really helped me get in a mindset that has enabled me to do what I'm doing right now.
Nice. Now, if you have any other questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat. We have about 10 minutes left in the session. I do have a question for you. If someone was looking to get more, gain a mentor or get some advice on cybersecurity, how would you best go about finding that mentor, finding some leadership to kind of guide you through the process?
That is a very good question. As someone who has been through that journey myself, it can be difficult. I will tell you that unlike many fields, cybersecurity is full of people who are very humble and willing to help. A lot of people in cybersecurity are very passionate geeks, nerds. They just love to talk about what they know. So in one way, that makes it easier to find a mentor because you are surrounded by people who are passionate. At the same time, it is a big ask for someone to mentor you. Just being aware that if someone agrees to mentor you, you're not paying them. They're doing it. They may have a lot going on. So approach people that you know first. Find somebody that you know. And if there's someone that you know, one of my former VPs is a CISO. I asked him a few questions about it. He's not a mentor, but he was willing to give me some advice and give me some tips. But I was connected with LinkedIn. I was connected to a WGU alumni on LinkedIn, and I saw him post something. So I just reached out. I said, "Hey, I'm looking to get into this. Would you be willing to answer some questions?" And he became a mentor. What originally though just started was me asking him a few questions about the field that he was in because I was curious. Um, get on Discord, build community, find people that are in your personal community. I know our cybersecurity club has a lot of people who are very knowledgeable, very experienced, and have a lot of wisdom. Get connected with those. If you're a WGU student, if you're not in the cybersecurity club, join it. It does require being a WGU student, but the Discord server is a great place to get connected with people, and it has to be natural. But also, another thing when looking for a mentor, don't just leech. Don't just say, give me, give me, give me, and then get frustrated because they don't give you what you want. Treat them as someone with respect. Ask them how they're doing. Make sure it's a real relationship, because if they're going to mentor you, give back what you can, even if it's just in ways of being respectful, being friendly, checking in on them, and being human, I guess.
Yes, and I would also suggest in relation to all of those great ideas, look into our U Connect as well. So WGU Connect, and being able to connect with others and share any questions that are people that we have professionals in the industry that are WGU alum as well. Um, so that was great. Thanks for that, Levi. So I don't see any more questions here in the chat. Oh, nope. So Charlie jumped in there. What are the best positions for long hours, but fewer days and weeks? 3 days on, 4 days off, or remote?
That's a good question. It depends on your experience. It depends on your level in your career. I would say there are definitely positions out there. I wouldn't do a SOC position because working in a SOC is not that way. I mean, there are remote jobs everywhere for all different positions. You may look into something more GRC related where you're able to just work on your project and your policies, or an engineering position where you're doing project-based work. Project-based work tends to allow for a more flexible schedule because you're just getting your work done depending on your project manager and the setup. But that type of work allows for you to work on your time as long as you're accomplishing your goals. But there's a lot of factors that you'd have to look into for that. Sorry.
All right. It definitely depends on what areas that you're looking to work in, but definitely do your research and see what's out there. Any other questions that are in the chat? And while we wait for another minute or two, I'll drop um, Levi's LinkedIn profile in there. So if you would like to connect with him afterwards, I'll also add it to the follow-up email. So if you would like to connect with him and with any other additional questions. He's a great resource for anything cybersecurity or just going through WGU and connecting about that. Becker had a question in the chat based on experience. Is there a way to work remote globally? I heard companies don't allow passing 6 months because of legal stuff.
Yeah, it depends on what country you're working from, what country you're working in. There are a lot of resources out there. I believe they call themselves global nomads. So look into global nomads. I think that's a website that they have a bunch of remote work information for people looking to work remotely globally. It really depends on, I mean, there are so many factors, but legal is going to be your main issue. So check out, yeah, digital
Okay.
nomads, something like that. Sorry. I know nomads and digital or remote.
And I'll try to look that up and we'll add it to the email with the other links that you provided earlier. We do have one other question from Will in the chat. Between TryHackMe and Hack the Box, which platform has a lot of value in the job market and which helps you get more hands-on experience?
So Hack the Box, 100%. If you're just starting out, a lot of people say TryHackMe is easier. So maybe do a little bit of TryHackMe. If you're doing your bachelor's in cyber, TryHackMe has the Pen Test Plus path. So for your Pen Test Plus, use TryHack. They have great training for that certification, which is part of the cyber degree. But Hack the Box. Hack the Box Academy is spectacular. Hack the Box's certifications are becoming industry leading, especially in the pen testing and pen testing side. OSCP has been the main certification everyone's talked about. Now the CPTS is becoming the de facto that people want. So I definitely recommend I recommend both, but I recommend Hack the Box between the two.
Thank you for that. Any other questions before we wrap it up? I'm also going to just drop in our survey, our feedback survey. Let us know how we did. How did you like the session? If there's another session that you would like, we can definitely talk with Levi and have him come back and talk to us a little bit more about his experiences and information about cybersecurity. So I'll drop that feedback survey in the chat and also a link to upcoming sessions that we have for the rest of the week. I think we have about 1 or 2 more this week. So go ahead and check those out and register once you get some time. But looks like we don't have any additional questions. We do have some thank yous coming through. We definitely appreciate your time. Levi, would you like to say a few words before we wrap up the session?
I just want to thank you for this opportunity. Thank you, WGU, for giving me a chance to get a degree. But yeah, everyone here, my goal in all of this is just to help people out. I went through that process myself within the last year, so it's still very fresh for me. I know how hard it can be if you're trying to get your first job in the field, or if you're trying to transition back into the field even. So just know you're not alone. When you get stressed, just take a break, take a step back. Don't let the weight of the world rest on your shoulders. It will be okay. Things will work out. You can do this. I believe in every one of you, really. If you're just starting your career or you're transitioning, you can do it.
All right. Thank you for that great advice. I would love to say thank you again, Levi, for joining us and sharing your time. I know you're a very busy person, so being able to give back to the WGU community is something that we appreciate and we do not take lightly. To everyone, thank you for attending today's session. It's been a great session, and we hope to bring other similar sessions to you throughout the rest of the year. And if you have an opportunity, please check out those other sessions coming up this week with Cyber Week. And take care and have a great day.
Thank you.